What happens when a mind refuses to be chained? When illusions shatter and clarity burns brighter than fear? This is the terrifying strength of a free mind. Unyielding, unsettling, unstoppable. In this video, discover how to think beyond control, embrace chaos, and awaken a power that disturbs yet liberates. Chapter 1. The Birth of the Unconventional Thinker. Most people live inside invisible cages. They wake up, follow routines, speak words they didn't invent, and carry beliefs handed down like old clothes. The cage is comfortable, even decorated with familiar patterns, but it is still a cage. The terrifying strength of a free mind begins with noticing those bars. Imagine walking through a crowded street. Everyone moves in rhythm, repeating the same gestures, the same conversations, the same fears. You stop, and suddenly you see it, the masks people wear, smiles that hide exhaustion, opinions borrowed from headlines, dreams shaped by advertisements. The moment you see the mask, you cannot unsee it. That is the first step toward freedom. But awakening is not glamorous, it is unsettling. When you begin to question the rules, people look at you with suspicion. They wonder why you don't play along. They whisper that you are strange, arrogant, or dangerous. And in a way, they are right. A mind that refuses to be controlled is dangerous, not because it harms, but because it reveals. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." That sentence carries both beauty and terror. To become yourself means stripping away illusions, confronting shadows, and walking alone when others cling to the crowd. It is not a path of comfort, it is a path of clarity. Think of the child who asks too many questions. Why is the sky blue? Why do we pray this way? Why must I obey? At first, the questions are innocent, but as the child grows, the questions sharpen. They cut through tradition, through authority, through the fragile walls of certainty. That child becomes the thinker who terrifies others, not because of cruelty, but because of honesty. The birth of the unconventional thinker often begins in silence. Alone in a room, staring at the ceiling, wondering why life feels scripted. Alone in a library, reading words that ignite rebellion. Alone in the night, realizing that the world's answers no longer satisfy. Solitude is the cradle of strength. It is where the mind begins to forge its independence. Yet solitude is also heavy. It carries loneliness, doubt, and fear. Many retreat back into the cage, preferring comfort over clarity, but those who endure discover something extraordinary. The mind begins to breathe differently. Thoughts expand, questions multiply. The world no longer feels fixed. It feels open, alive, waiting to be reimagined. This is the moment when others start to feel uneasy around you. They sense that you are not bound by the same strings. You do not laugh at the same jokes, follow the same rituals, or bow to the same idols. Your presence unsettles them because it reminds them of their own chains. And so they call you dangerous. But danger is only perception. The unconventional thinker is not a destroyer but a mirror. By refusing to wear the mask, you expose the masks of others. By refusing to obey blindly, you reveal the fragility of authority. By refusing to accept illusions, you awaken the possibility of truth. The birth of such a mind is not a single event, it is a series of small rebellions, choosing silence instead of noise, choosing questions instead of answers, choosing authenticity instead of imitation. Each choice adds weight to the mind, shaping it into something unyielding. And here is the paradox. The stronger your mind becomes, the more terrifying it appears to others. They fear not your strength, but the reflection of their weakness. They fear not your freedom, but the reminder of their chains. If you are watching this and feel the stirrings of such a mind within you, know this: you are not alone. Many have walked this path before, and many will walk it after. The journey is difficult, but it is also the most profound adventure of existence. At this point, let me pause and invite you to stay with this journey. If these words resonate, if you feel the cage trembling around you, subscribe to this channel, not just to follow, but to join a community of thinkers who dare to step beyond control. Your subscription is not a click, it is a declaration that you are ready to explore deeper. The birth of the unconventional thinker is only the beginning. It is the spark that ignites the forge. It is the crack in the mask that reveals the face beneath. It is the silence that grows into a voice too clear to be ignored. And once that voice awakens, the world will never look the same again. Chapter 2, The Forge of Inner Strength. Strength does not arrive like a gift. It is forged, hammered, and shaped in the fire of experience. A mind that terrifies others is not born in comfort. It is born in chaos. The forge of inner strength begins when life refuses to be easy, when storms arrive uninvited, and when silence becomes a teacher. Picture a blacksmith at work. Sparks fly, metal bends, and the hammer strikes again and again. The mind is no different. Every challenge, every contradiction, every wound becomes raw material. Pain is the fire. Reflection is the hammer. Time is the anvil. Slowly, the mind hardens into something unbreakable. Chaos is not the enemy. It is the forge itself. When life feels uncertain, when plans collapse, when people betray, the mind is forced to adapt. Weak minds run from chaos, seeking distraction or denial. Strong minds step into it, learning to dance with disorder. They discover that clarity is not the absence of chaos, but the ability to stand firm within it. Think of solitude again. In the first chapter, solitude was the cradle of awakening. Now it becomes the forge. Alone with your thoughts, you face contradictions that others avoid. You wrestle with questions that have no easy answers. You confront fears that echo in the silence. Each confrontation is a strike of the hammer. Each moment of endurance adds strength to the mind. But forging strength is not only about suffering, it is about transformation. The storm that once threatened to drown you becomes the wind that carries you forward. The maze that once confused you becomes a map of possibilities. The fire that once burned you becomes the light that guides you. Strong minds do not erase pain, they reshape it into wisdom. This transformation is unsettling to others. Most people prefer simple answers, clear rules, and predictable paths. A mind forged in chaos refuses simplicity. It holds paradoxes without collapsing. It accepts contradictions without fear. It embraces fate without complaint. Such a mind cannot be manipulated because it has already faced the worst and survived. Imagine standing in a storm while others run for shelter. You remain, not because you enjoy suffering, but because you understand that storms reveal truth. They strip away illusions, exposing what is fragile and what is strong. When the storm passes, you are still there, unbroken, carrying a clarity that others cannot comprehend. The forge of inner strength also requires discipline. Freedom without discipline is chaos without clarity. Strong minds cultivate rituals, writing, reflection, creative practice, silence, that sharpen thought and steady emotion. These rituals are not cages, they are tools. They give shape to the fire, guiding it into something useful. Discipline is often misunderstood. People think it means restriction, denial, or punishment. But true discipline is liberation. It frees the mind from distraction, from weakness, from dependence. It allows the thinker to focus, to create, to endure. Discipline is the rhythm of the forge, the steady beat that shapes raw chaos into strength. And yet, discipline alone is not enough. The forge requires courage. Courage to face solitude. Courage to embrace chaos. Courage to walk a path that others fear. Without courage, the mind retreats into comfort. With courage, the mind steps into fire and emerges transformed. The terrifying strength of a free mind is not about dominance, it is about integration. Weak minds split under pressure, unable to hold contradictions. Strong minds integrate them, weaving chaos into clarity, pain into wisdom, solitude into vision. This integration is what makes the mind terrifying. It cannot be broken by the forces that shatter others. Others sense this strength, even if they cannot explain it. They feel uneasy around someone who does not panic in storms, who does not cling to illusions, who does not collapse under pressure. They call it arrogance, coldness, or danger, but it is none of these. It is simply strength forged in fire. The forge of inner strength is not a place you visit once. It is a lifelong process. Every storm, every silence, every contradiction adds another strike of the hammer. The mind continues to harden, continues to clarify, continues to grow. And with each strike, it becomes more terrifying. Not because it seeks to frighten, but because it refuses to break. If you have felt chaos pressing against you, if you have endured solitude, if you have faced contradictions that tore at your certainty, know this: you are already inside the forge. Every moment of endurance is shaping you. Every question without an answer is sharpening you. Every silence is strengthening you. The forge is not easy. It is not comfortable, but it is the only path to a mind that cannot be controlled. And once you step fully into it, you will discover that chaos is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It is the fire that reveals who you truly are. Chapter 3, the radiance that disturbs. When a mind has been forged in solitude and chaos, it begins to shine with a strange radiance. This radiance is not gentle. It is sharp, unsettling, and impossible to ignore. People sense it before they understand it. They feel the weight of your presence, the clarity of your words, the refusal to bend to illusions, and they are disturbed. Strong minds do not seek to frighten. They simply exist in truth. Yet, truth itself is unsettling. It cracks the fragile shells people build around themselves. It exposes the lies they cling to for comfort. It reveals the emptiness behind their masks. To stand near such a mind is to feel naked, vulnerable, and unprepared. Imagine a lighthouse in the middle of a storm. Its beam cuts through the darkness, revealing rocks, waves, and dangers that others would prefer to ignore. The light does not create the danger, it only reveals it. But sailors curse the light because it forces them to see what they would rather deny. A strong mind is that lighthouse. Its radiance disturbs because it refuses to let illusions survive. This disturbance is not cruelty, it is clarity. When you speak, people hear the echo of their own contradictions. When you act, they see the weakness of their own choices. When you refuse to obey, they realize how easily they submit. Your strength becomes a mirror, and mirrors are rarely comfortable. The radiance of a free mind also carries responsibility. To terrify others with truth is easy. To guide them through it is harder. A strong mind must decide, will it use its clarity to dominate or to illuminate? Domination breeds fear and resistance. Illumination breeds growth, even if it begins with discomfort. Consider the way people react to authenticity. In a world of masks, authenticity feels dangerous. It breaks the rhythm of polite lies. It challenges the comfort of conformity. When you live authentically, others feel exposed. They may mock you, resist you, or even attack you. But beneath their resistance lies a hidden admiration. They wish they could live as freely as you do. The disturbing radiance of a strong mind is not about arrogance. It is about presence. You walk into a room, and the air changes. Conversations shift. People sense that you are not bound by their illusions. They may avoid your gaze, but they cannot ignore it. Your silence speaks louder than their noise. Your clarity cuts deeper than their confusion. This radiance also attracts. Some people, instead of fearing, are drawn to it. They see in your strength a possibility for themselves. They recognize that your clarity could help them break their own chains. They approach cautiously, seeking guidance, hoping to borrow a spark of your fire. And here lies the paradox. What terrifies some inspires others. The unsettling power of a strong mind is not in its ability to destroy, but in its ability to awaken. Awakening is painful. It requires tearing away illusions, confronting shadows, and facing truths that have long been buried. Most resist, but those who endure discover freedom. And freedom, once tasted, cannot be forgotten. Living with such a mind is not easy. You will often feel misunderstood, isolated, or even rejected. People may call you dangerous, arrogant, or strange. But remember, their fear is not about you. It is about themselves.
They fear the reflection you cast, the truths you reveal, the freedom you embody. The radiance that disturbs is also the radiance that liberates. It shines into darkness, not to destroy, but to guide. It unsettles illusions, not to harm, but to awaken. It terrifies weakness, not to dominate, but to inspire strength. This is the paradox of the terrifying mind. It is both feared and needed. Think of the world as a theater. Most people play roles, wearing costumes and reciting lines. The strong mind steps onto the stage without a mask, speaking words that are not scripted. The audience gasps. Some boo, others cheer. But no one forgets. The performance disturbs because it is real. The radiance of such a mind cannot be hidden.
Even in silence, it shines. Even in solitude, it echoes. Even in rejection, it persists. It is the natural consequence of freedom, the inevitable glow of authenticity, the unyielding light of clarity. And so, the terrifying strength of a free mind becomes a paradoxical gift. It unsettles, but it also awakens. It disturbs, but it also guides. It terrifies, but it also liberates. To live with such a mind is to accept both the burden and the beauty of truth. If you carry this radiance, know that it will not always be welcomed, but it will always be needed. The world may resist, but it cannot ignore. The masks may crack, but they cannot endure. The illusions may tremble, but they cannot survive. The terrifying strength of a free mind is not about power over others. It is about power over yourself. It is the refusal to be controlled, the courage to embrace chaos, the discipline to forge clarity, and the radiance to disturb illusions. It is the ultimate act of freedom. And once such a mind exists, the world will never be the same again.